Ulysses, Ulysses, something, something. Another one. I finish early Fridays. This is Tom time. You want another news video? Fine. Something funny wrestling news. A WWE star reportedly has heat with the company. Meanwhile, a former WWE star is trademarking their wrestling name. And how are AEW doing financially during the pandemic? We'll talk about it in a little bit. So Sami Zayn is back in the news today. Earlier on in the week, we found out that the Intercontinental Championship is being vacated and a tournament is beginning tonight on SmackDown to crown a brand new IC champ. We haven't seen Sami since WrestleMania. He has exercised his right to not go along to the tapings for WWE shows in Orlando, Florida during the pandemic. And from what we are gleaming from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, is that there's a little bit of bother regarding that. I'm going to quote Dave Meltzer from the newsletter here, who says the following: even though nobody can say it publicly for obvious reasons, there is a lot of unhappiness that Zayn exercised the option that they gave everyone regarding not wrestling if you don't want to right now. It should be noted that I know of several people in the company who are not comfortable at all about working right now, but we're not about to take WWE up on their offer for job security reasons, and this was before all the firings happened. There are still people not working who live in the US, but there are very, very few. But to come back to the main point in this, it looks as if there's some heat on Sami Zayn for not being a part of the shows, and if that truly is the case, that's terrible form. You know, you can't ostracize somebody for making the decision to stay away from the wrestling show considering everything that is going on. I just find that bizarre to think about. Sami Zayn could have quite easily held the Intercontinental Championship while he was away. In fact, even Meltzer says the IC title doesn't mean much and we're long past the period of taking titles too seriously and they can do whatever they want. So you don't need to have Sami on TV. You know, you can claim, oh, the Intercontinental title is an important part of SmackDown. Oh, but here's the thing. I love the IC title as much as anybody, but it hasn't really meant anything for a long time. I'm sorry, it hasn't. So Sami Zayn holding it whilst he was taking time away doesn't really affect the product, but here we are, Sami Zayn being stripped of the belt. A tournament beginning tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. Possibly some heat for Sami Zayn over this as well. Meanwhile, we turn our attention to former WWE star Lio Rush. He was one of those names during the firings last month that really shocked me. Just an incredibly talented guy with a lot to offer, and he's let go from the company, and there was some speculation as to what he's going to do next. A few vague tweets gave the indication that he wanted to wrap up wrestling. He was selling off a lot of his ring attire earlier on this week as well on Twitter. His album Ever After is out now, so he could be doing more stuff in the music world. But an interesting trademark war is sort of breaking out right now between Lio Rush and WWE. Lio Rush has filed to trademark his own name. He did that earlier this week. Now, I know what you're thinking. He was Lio Rush before he came to WWE, and you are absolutely right. He was. But back in January, WWE filed to own the name Lio Rush for future broadcasts and obviously for merchandising and all the normal stuff they like to keep hold of people's names for. There was an issue with filing that. So I will go into a few details on this. There was a request sent to WWE from the trademark company. I'm guessing Ian Trademark and Co, maybe. They asked the WWE to clarify whether the name Lio Rush in the mark identifies a particular living individual. WWE requires a written consent personally signed by the named individual. If the name is a pseudonym, stage name, or nickname, the applicant must provide the following statement: Lio Rush identifies a living individual whose consent is of record. So, WWE, to sum all this malarkey up, WWE applied for the rights to trademark Lio Rush back in January. They've since let him go. Trademark people have gone and said, you need to get Lio Rush's permission to own the trademark. Lio Rush has then gone, actually, well, no, you've sacked me, so I want it. So I'm now applying for the trademark to my own name. Trademark wars. We'll keep you posted. Let's talk about finishers, baby. 2 stories that have popped up over the last 24 hours about how AEW stars got names behind their moves. We'll start with Brody Lee, who is headlining Double or Nothing against Jon Moxley at the end of this month. He is one discus clothesline away from becoming the AEW heavyweight champion. Now, 2 homages in this particular move. One to Bray Wyatt in the setup, and the other is in the name. Bryce Remsburg went to Twitter to say the discus clothesline is actually called the Boss Man, and it is in homage to Ray Traylor, aka the Big Boss Man. Brody Lee confirmed this by replying to the tweet saying, "True story." Lovely little homage to the law and order and justice of the World Wrestling Federation. The other move is from Pac, that incredible aggressive submission that he started doing called the Brutalizer. Excalibur, AEW commentator extraordinaire, was on the AEW Unrestricted podcast and talked about a number of things, including how that finisher got its name. And Excalibur says, during Pac versus Omega at All Out, Tony Khan, in one of the few times he gets in my ear, was like, hey, think of a name for Pac's finisher. And it was 30 seconds before it happened, so I just blurted out, Brutalizer! And it stuck. So thank goodness Excalibur was working that night and came up with Brutalizer. I like the name Brutalizer. And just, if it could have been so much worse if somebody else was on commentary duty that night. I'm just saying. Hey, Randy McPeach. Otis news, because we haven't had enough Otis news this week. Otis, the holder of the Money in the Bank briefcase, defying a lot of odds, a lot of bookies, and a lot of wrestling fans by winning that one this past Sunday at Money in the Bank. A lot of talk on what he's going to do with said briefcase. A few people have suggested that he's going to go after the tag team titles with Heavy Machinery. A few people I've seen online even suggested that he might just hand the briefcase over to Mandy. That could be a thing. Stranger things have happened. But the NXT champion, Adam Cole, was chatting on the bump, and he is very aware of the possibility that maybe Otis could cash in for the NXT title. He said, I have thought about it. Anything can happen in WWE, whether you're from Raw, SmackDown or NXT. I think people look at me as one of the most dominant champions in modern history. Look at the records I've broken and the records I've beaten. I very much so could see Otis deciding on challenging me for the NXT championship. Now, obviously, there's a lot of kayfabiness all around this particular one, and take it with the biggest pinch of salt you could possibly find. But stranger things have happened. Like, there's no reason why they can't have some fun with this, and they can't have, say, Otis even tease going after Adam Cole in the NXT championship, because obviously Charlotte holding the NXT Women's Championship, she sets a precedent for people that head back to NXT and do great things. Otis came from there. No reason why they couldn't use that as a tool to increase views on a Wednesday for NXT using Otis. Stranger things have happened. I know it seems really pie in the sky, the thought of maybe Otis cashing in for the NXT title, but why not? We'll find out a little bit more about what Otis has planned tonight on SmackDown. He's on Miz TV discussing what he's going to do with the Money in the Bank briefcase. So chances are we're going to find out tonight on SmackDown what he has planned. And talking of AEW, let's end on some good news for AEW. Unbelievably, in all that is going on in the world, they actually made a profit last month. This comes from the Wrestling Observer. Say AEW did break even in April, actually making a very small profit. With television not being taped every week, it has reduced costs, although the reduction of costs is not enough to offset the loss of live gate. However, the company did turn a small profit between the money from TNT for television, for online merchandise money, and costs being down by doing all the tapings in Georgia. See, this was a big part. So they saved a lot of money in April by, instead of flying people out week by week by week, just flying them out once, getting a whole load of stuff done. They save loads on flights. They probably didn't get many air miles, but they save loads on flights and things like that. It is a bit of a bittersweet result, though, and Dave Meltzer explains why. Dave says they would have likely had a very big month had everything been normal. They were expecting good houses in Milwaukee, St. Louis, Boston, Philadelphia, and Houston. This would have been AEW's first time in both cities. That, along with Rochester and Newark, which we figured were going to be two very high grossing events. Newark perhaps setting the company's all-time record. It was certainly looking that way. And this period hoped to be where they start making back some of the losses of the first year. However, what with the pandemic, that period is going to have to wait. But I kind of wanted to put a silver lining on things to end the week. It's, you know, in all that has gone on, I think it's great that a company like AEW can turn around and go, hey, we've made profit. We've actually made a little bit of money. We've lost a few other places, but we've made a little bit of money back this month, which is nice to hear when you consider all of the malarkey that is going on. That is doing it for your Cultaholic wrestling news for this week. There'll be more tomorrow, no doubt. If stuff breaks, obviously the SmackDown grade will be here tomorrow as well. And once again, a massive thank you for supporting everything that we do. And another week in lockdown. We are persevering, aren't we? We are persevering. Always stay safe. Be lucky. You can tell I'm tired. It's been a long week. Love you. Bye.